Karl Honkonen, who's here from the U.S. Forest Service. And as Karen said, the Forest Service is a really important part of this whole project. It's the principal funder for this project. And Karl is kind of our conduit to the Forest Service, and also hopefully our ability to be able to find out some of the great things that the Forest Service is doing right now. So let me introduce Karl. Let me tell you a little bit about Karl before I introduce him. Before I always do my glasses. Karl is a forest watershed specialist for the U.S. Forest Service, Northeast Area State Private Forestry Program at the Durham, New Hampshire Field Office, where he is responsible for improving water quality and forest operations in 6 New England states and New York. Karl provides technical direction and leadership for forestry best management practices and non-point source pollution control. He also provides expertise in silviculture and natural resource management. Prior to joining the Forest Service, Karl held a variety of positions with Massachusetts-based environmental agencies, including Director of Water Policy, Watershed Manager, Buzzards Bay Watershed Team Leader, and as Chief of the Bureau of Interpretive Services for Massachusetts State Parks. He's earned his BA in Environmental Conservation from the University of New Hampshire and MS in Education from the University of New England. Welcome, Karl.
Thank you, Rod. Appreciate it. First of all, when you speak in front of an audience, you need to know your audience, and I've never met many of you. So I have to ask this first important question. How many Patriots fans are in the room? Couple? All right. So I won't get too many rocks thrown at me. That's good. That's very good. Well, thank you. This is my advantage here. Okay, perfect.
On the sides of the
Great, great, thank you. I'm just going to talk briefly about why I'm here and what the Forest Service does. This is the commercial, so you have to bear with us. You'll watch a lot of commercials for the Super Bowl. This is the commercial for the Forest Service, and I'll try and be brief. And I won't be as amusing as the ones we'll see on Sunday. But I work with the Northeast Area State and Private Forestry Office, and when folks think of the Forest Service, they often think of White Mountain National Forest, or in New Hampshire, or the Green Mountains in Vermont, or Finger Lakes in New York, for example, or the larger national forests out west. Well, those are part of this agency that I work with, but we're also involved in state and private lands. And this is a crucial link to where you folks are here today. So I just want to give you a brief introduction as to who we are and why we're here. First of all, without having us all together in the same boat, paddling in the same direction, we're not going to get anywhere. So it's important to bring together a diverse group of people and get them all working together for common objectives. Otherwise, whoops, what happened? I pushed the button by mistake. That's all right. Otherwise, we're not going to make it downstream, and we're going to run into all kinds of problems. So that's the important factor in state and private forestry, is working with private landowners and public landowners to achieve common objectives. The national forest system in the United States is fairly diverse. We're one part of that in the eastern region. You'll see the eastern region 9 to the northeast corner of the state, of the country. And that's a 20-state region that I'm directly involved with. But more importantly, is this doing this by itself? More importantly, I focus on the 6-state New England region as well as New York. Great. Thank you. So the National Forest System oversees about 193 million acres of land, but I'm not focused on that National Forest System. Again, I'm focused on state and private lands. So the forest in this part of the country, you'll see in this map in green. So we do have a fair amount of forest land in this 20-state region. So you might ask, well, why is this an important focus for state and private forestry? Because as a watershed forester, for me, water is an important resource, and without these green parcels of land within this region of the country, we're not going to have a clean water supply. How many days can you last without water?
6.
3, 6. I usually say 3, but 3 to 6, that's fine. How many days can you last without food?
22.
About 3 weeks. So, just to get us all on the same page as to why water is important. What are some of our priorities in state and private forestry? We want to conserve and manage working forest landscapes for multiple uses and multiple values, whether it's timber production, watershed protection, habitat protection, recreation. All of these items are important to us. Protecting forests from threats is an important issue. We've got a lot of forest health issues in the Northeast region with invasive insects and invasive plants that are very concerning to us. And we also want to try and enhance people's benefits from trees and forests in the best ways that we can. So why am I focused on this region of the country, and why is state and private forestry working here? Well, there is some factors to think about. It is the most heavily forested and densely populated portion of the United States. 172 million acres, 125 million people, 5 million family forestry owners in this region, and about 441,000 people that work in forest-based industries and businesses. And we have the most privately owned forest in this portion of the country. So that's why state and private forestry has a big interest here. Our vision is to be a conservation leader, and we want to support sustainable forestry for people, for wildlife, for water supply, etc. We're trying to be collaborative, and that's what this workshop here is all about today. Collaboration, focusing on adaptive and quick ways in which to manage forests most effectively. We've developed a strategic plan that organizes our priorities. I'm not going to go through all of them, but just want to touch on a couple of them. Number one is keep forests as forests. We're seeing a rapid changeover in land uses in some parts of this region, and we want to, as much as possible, keep forests as forests. Another big issue here that we'll talk about in some fashion, I'm sure today, is climate change. Our forests are changing. Our species mix is changing, not in the time period that you and I can recognize, but over larger scales of time. So that's one thing that we're very concerned about. If you're interested in how we work directly with state priorities that are based on each state's forest action plan. So the state of New York and the state of Connecticut, their state foresters develop a forest action plan that we work directly with them in implementing as much as possible. And part of that implementation is why we're here today. The forest action plans that each state put together outline their interests. We fund a program called Landscape Scale Restoration Grants. It's a competitive grant process that a group like Hysted will come to the state forester, in this case in 2 states, and say, this idea that we have of bringing folks together in this H2H program is consistent with your forest action plan. And so we applied for restoration grants through the Forest Service, and I'm the grant monitor and coordinator for that. And I work directly with the staff at Hysted to see that this grant moves as smoothly as possible. So that's why I'm here. This is how you all got to be here through this process. Just want to touch briefly on some of the other things that we work on in state and private forestry. We work with each state directly to develop a cooperative fire protection program to support and fight fires as necessary, or to control burning in some cases, to manage ecosystems in the most appropriate way, in some cases early successional habitats. We also do a lot of work in forest health protection. We're very concerned with insects such as the emerald ash borer, hemlock woolly adelgid, Asian longhorn beetle, to name a couple. and how those insects invading our forests and changing the dynamics of our forests, and what can we do about them. Again, working directly with the state's forestry agencies. We have a forest legacy and community forest and open space program that works directly with nonprofit organizations and public agencies to help preserve and protect landscapes through acquisitions and fee simple acquisition and also easement programs. Our forest stewardship program works directly with private forest landowners to achieve their objectives and provide a variety of public benefits through stewardship planning. We have an urban and community forestry program working with our cities and towns to help enhance those urban environments with trees and other green spaces, as well as working on stormwater management and low impact development concepts. A small factor of our program is a wood education and research center. How can we enhance opportunities of various wood-based industries to further develop their products and better utilize wood and wood products? In summary, we're here to work directly with you, to work directly with landowners that own land and help manage land trusts that work together with those private landowners, as well as with state agencies. I'm really happy to be here today and look forward to hearing from all the other speakers and how we can work together to maintain this important ecological landscape between the Hudson and Housatonic watershed. So thanks again for having me today. And I'll be here until about 2:30 or so, when my son said if I don't leave, I'm going to miss his hockey game. So I've got to travel back to New Hampshire later this afternoon, but I'll be here most of the day. I look forward to answering any questions you have during the day. My contact information is here. I'll throw a business card to you if you need it. And once again, thanks for having me.